He gives you the latest sports news, interviews, and life-changing commentary with a smile on his face. Because he wears those ticklish underpants.
Let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Very funny, very funny. Ticklish underpants.
TBS.
Welcome back. Noon hour, the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. A reminder that Kill Switch Engage is coming to Omaha.
Hell yeah.
March 29th at the Astro, a venue that Josh loves.
Oh, yeah. It's a classic venue.
There's a giveaway on our website.
Giveaway?
Yes. What's our website, Josh?
1620thezone.com.
It's got many things. Many things.
So many
including
things.
A giveaway to the Kill Switch Engage concert. All right, Dan Holgorsen.
Dan.
So we've talked a lot over the last couple of days about the fit from a football perspective, right? What does Rule want to do football-wise compared to what Dan Holgorsen has shown from a football perspective? Let's talk about it in the sense, and this is mainly what Mitch Sherman wrote about on The Athletic, or this is part of it anyway, the part of it that grabbed me. From an organizational standpoint, I'm interested in that piece of it too. Because Mitch caught up with Sam Kahn, who's been around Dana Holgorsen for a long time in the Big 12 at Houston, various other stops, covered the Big 12 for a long time. So he knows Dana Holgorsen and sort of what he's all about and why some of the things have or have not worked in his time. And so I want to read you this. And I think this is an important, I guess once again, we should say this is sort of assuming he takes on a bigger role for Nebraska next year. Meaning he's probably going to end up being Nebraska's offensive coordinator.
Could probably write that one in ink.
Okay. So Mitch asked, Sam, why did Holgorsen fail as a head coach at Houston? Sam Kahn said this: I think the evolving demands on a head coach in this sport became incongruent with what made Holgorsen good in the first place. His strengths are coaching offense, game planning, calling plays, and figuring out how to score points. But the job of a head coach today is less about X's and O's than it is about program management, year-round recruiting, NIL, and roster management. He was ahead of the curve on transfers in the pre-portal era, aggressively tapping into the market midway through his tenure at West Virginia. And that approach carried into his time at Houston, but he never struck me as a relentless recruiter or someone who loved that part of the job. And Houston was behind the curve on NIL. High school recruiting tapered off toward the end of his tenure. Slow starts and undisciplined play were common in his last 2 years, spanning 2022 and 2023. The Cougars averaged 7 penalties per game. They were 58th among 69 Power 5 teams in first half scoring average. They had one of the best defenses in the country in 2021, and they ranked worse than 100th in scoring defense, yards allowed per game, yards allowed per play, third down, fourth down, and red zone defense in his 2 years there. Holgorsen seemed pretty frustrated, tired, and seeking answers, and that rhetoric was transparent in press conferences, which did him no favors. I think the job became much different than what he signed up for upon arrival in 2019. And in 2023, the Cougars were battling uphill as a new Big 12 member, a transition that was tough for each of their fellow newcomers in the group of 5. So basically, I mean, I don't know what that sounded like. Nice GIF, Josh. I don't know what that sounded like to you, but it sounded pretty close to a guy who was hired here for his really cool and fun offense and really liked coordinating offenses and was actually pretty freaking good at it and designing plays and scheming and sequential play calling and game feel. Like, I think Scott Frost was good at that. I still think Scott Frost would be a very good offensive coordinator. But what Scott Frost was not good at is running a program like Nebraska. Or running a program maybe in general. He likes football. And not that Matt Rule doesn't like football, but Matt Rule has a type of personality.
Mm-hmm.
He's a CEO. He has a CEO personality.
Absolutely.
He understands what people's roles need to be, has no problem telling people what they need to do, how to make the machine work. He's a button pusher. He knows the pulse of his team. He's got like all of the team stuff. It's just cooked into his DNA, right? And for some coaches, it's just not. For some coaches, they just want to design cool plays, score a bunch of points, and figure out the next cool way to get yards. Like whatever. And like they're innovators in that way. Frost was largely viewed as that.
Very much so.
In his time at Oregon and his time at UCF. And it's really his time throughout football. Holgorsen has followed a similar track. He's done it longer, but he's followed a similar track. I think that's kind of what Nebraska needs right now. As much as we talked about how, and I think we looked at this as an advantage at first with Rule in the offense and how they don't really have a scheme and they're not beholden to one thing or another. It has led to an obvious identity crisis. They have no identity. They're trying to be good at so many things. And they're trying to be good at so many things that they've actually ended up becoming good at nothing.
That's right.
And so what Nebraska needs is a scheme. It doesn't have to be one scheme or the other, but they have to figure out what they're doing. Could that work with this offensive coordinator if you give that some direction and say like, here's your parameters and here's what you got to do? Yeah, I think it could. But I don't think it's in that. I don't think it's in this coordinator's deal. I think this coordinator is he's a go with the flow. I'm going to adjust to the talent, adjust to the personnel type of guy. Talking about Sadie, right? And I don't think that's a bad thing inherently, but I do think what Nebraska needs right now is scheme, is direction, is boundary to get them off of the ground. And then as the talent evolves and as the quarterbacks evolve and everything like that, then you can adjust as you go. But they got to get it off the ground because in 2 years, almost 2 complete years now, they haven't really had an offense. It's just been let's find a way. Can we scheme a way to get a first down? Can we scheme a way to get a yard? How do we do this? It's one thing at a time. And that approach doesn't sound that bad when functionally applied to life, right? I just listen to one thing at a time here. And that's what Rule talks about it all the time. But Nebraska needs more of a grander vision on offense. This coordinator, this person, Dana, he brings a vision and a complete sense of how an offense works in the short term and the long term to the equation. I think he's exactly what they need from that perspective.
Hi, Dana. Thanks for coming in today. My name's Troy Dana. Thanks for taking
this
Mr.
meeting. Yogurt. Yeah. Hello, how are you?
Hey, Dana, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I don't know. I just want to coach ball. That was the exact answer I'm looking for.
You're hired.
I don't want to do any of the stuff that comes with it.
Totally.
I just want to coach ball.
Keep him quiet. Yep. Don't let him do any press conferences. Don't let him leave his house and make him coordinate this freaking offense.
Follow-up question, Mr. Holgorsen. Do you wear shoes? But yeah.
Is this a Whipple thing?
Of course I wear shoes. Why wouldn't I? Oh, just some people in the past haven't.
It's been a problem here in the past.
Kind of weird.
Whipple, it wasn't a problem. Whipple I think he had circulation problems. What are you making fun of him?
It is unusual to not wear shoes.
Yeah, but he had some concerns.
I understand that.
Remember when Mark Whipple got ran over on the sideline at Michigan? That was horrible. I was so worried about him.
He should be accommodated. It's
Thank you.
Generally fine.
Thank you. Good save.
Has no shoes on, but it is not the norm to be walking around all the damn time barefoot at work.
So I think it fits from like I said, we've talked about the football pieces, right? How does Rule from a football perspective, think about bringing in an offensive coordinator who, by nature, by DNA, would want to go faster, would want I just think, seriously, Nebraska needs this. I think they need some giddy up. I think Sam made this point, Sam McEwen, locally throughout the week. We're talking about all these Sams now. Sam McEwen made this point this week. Like, Nebraska's offense is not only dysfunctional in the terms of like none of its arms work at this point, but like they're also not giving themselves a chance. They're huddling up. It's slow. And oftentimes that reflects like in the actual plays. If there is a lackadaisical sense to the offense as it drives up and down the field, it just becomes it becomes really important that everyone wins all the time. Mm-hmm. Everyone has to win all the time the way Nebraska's offense is currently set up. Just because they go so slow, you kind of know what they're throwing at you. There's no window dressing. They're not moving. They're not motioning or anything like that. It's just like, hey, we're going to turn around. We're going to hand off the ball. We get 3 different run concepts, and we're going to drop back and throw it in the pass game. Maybe a little play action here and there. What they're doing. So using some tempo and, catching, whether it's catching people off guard, but like the whole point of spready offenses is that it simplifies things, especially for the quarterback. It simplifies things. Why do you think the dudes from Washington State, the dude dressed like another dude from Washington State, all of those dudes, whether it's Luke Falk or Gardner Minshew or whatever, throw for 7,000 yards every year? Because it's designed not only that they throw the football 80+% of the time, but they, and by the way, Holgorsen's had a pretty good run game. We can talk about that too. But it's a design so the throws and the reads are simply, it is a quarterback friendly offense, right? So there's this give and take, and we've talked about this as a positive, Josh. Like, Nebraska has taken the disposition, the perspective of, we want to prepare our people for the NFL, and specifically our quarterbacks. And so when we develop quarterbacks, we're developing them by saying, you're going to go in there and we're going to teach you everything that they teach you in the NFL. You're going to have to make all the reads that you make in the NFL, and it's going to be just as tough as it is in the NFL. And because of that, it's harder to come by these, crazy stats, these offensive outputs, but Nebraska's responsibility to Nebraska is to win games. Josh, whisper it to me.
Win games.
Thank you. Nebraska's responsibility is to win games. I love the idea of developing players for the NFL, but if it doesn't work that way and Nebraska's offense isn't any good and it hurts their quarterback's development because it's so hard to get it off the ground, then is that actually developing you for the NFL? If taking Dylan Raiola, who is a projected first, if he's a 5-star recruit, right? He's a projected first-round draft pick years and years out. If taking that guy and making him go through all these struggles in college and his draft stock falls, does that make him a better player? They might be able to make that argument. I'm not sure if it makes him a better player. It certainly it could make him more ready for the NFL, but if it makes him less confident, if it makes him less confident as a player and he doesn't have the stats to show for it, that's not developing. You're not developing that guy. And so I think that's sort of one of the core pieces that Rule is grappling with right now, because I think it fundamentally affects how they want to do this.
Yeah, Rule said a couple of weeks ago, I would like to play with more tempo. I think we should be out there moving a little quicker. And then nothing really came of it.
But he wants to develop. He wants to develop that way. He wants to develop those guys that way.